really exciting that you just have a new space and a new name. So why don't you tell us to start a little bit about how Washington Shakespeare Company Avant came to Arlington and how you founded the company?
Well, we founded the company. A lot of us worked in the 80s. A lot of us who founded the company worked in the 1980s at Source Theater Company with Art Whiteman. And I was in his production of Henry V, which was the first Source play on 14th Street in 1980, back when 14th Street was a very different place than it is today. We felt kind of like homesteaders in a way. And right around the corner from that, on S Street, T.J. Edwards bought a little two-story house and spent some years in the 80s building it up. And then the gentrification started happening. He sold it, and he had a little windfall from that. And he said, look, I've always wanted to play Hamlet. At that time in the 80s, it's much different now in Washington, but at that time, during the 80s, there was kind of a glass ceiling in terms of Washington actors being hired by the big theaters, the professional theaters, the equity theaters, in doing anything other than understudying or spear care or being a spear carrier. The small theaters, like Source Studio at the time was a small theater, Woolly, Mammoth. The non-equity theaters at the time didn't really do the classics very often, so there wasn't really an opportunity for local actors to challenge themselves with roles in classical plays. And TJ said, let's start reading it. So he got a bunch of us together, and we read it a few times in people's apartments, and then started workshopping it. And then we opened it in April 1990 over in Hyattsville at the Castle. I don't know if anyone knows that bizarre-looking place. I think it's a church now, but at the time it was a fixed-seat theater that got rented out to various people. And we opened it there, and about halfway through the run, everybody kind of looked at each other and said, not only are we really pleased to be doing this production, but also there would be a niche in Washington theater as it existed at the time for a company that offered local actors an opportunity to do the classics, and also offered audiences the opportunity to see the classics in an intimate setting instead of in the big, the Opera House or the Eisenhower Theater or the Landsberg, which didn't exist then, but it's a much different experience seeing a play like Richard III or Hamlet in a black box theater with 100 seats and 4 rows maybe, so that the action is very close to you. You get it's a much different experience, and so we felt that we had found a niche, and that's how we started the company. A few months after that, in September of 1990, or maybe August, I got a phone call and went to Gunston Theater, which also at the time did not exist, and John Palmer Claridge in Arlington County Cultural Affairs met me and TJ and Brian Hemmingson and Nancy Robinette, who was with us at the time, to look at the space, and they were in construction of the Gunston Art Center. And he took us in and he showed us what would become Theater 2 at Gunston and said, we'd really love to have you guys be part of this new project. And they explained the whole incubator. And we said sure, and they said we were going to open it in about 4 weeks, and we said we'll do no exit for you, and we rehearsed it in like literally 3 weeks. Brian Hemmingson directed it, and TJ and I read it, and Anthony Larson. And lo and behold, that began our relationship with driving there with Richard Mancini, one of our other founding ensemble members, and he was driving there. We were going under 495, and he was telling how Brian. This was days before GPS, right? So he said, Brian kept saying, "You won't know where the fuck you are. You won't know where the fuck you are." But we found it, and we spent a year. It was kind of like building the pyramids for some of us, just doing our plays, rehearsing, and then going in and putting in hours and hours and hours building the theater, building the dressing rooms, the lobby, getting it up to code, ripping out what was existing there, putting in bathrooms to code and everything. And finally opened it in 1995. Had 15 good years there. I guess it's still sitting there. I haven't driven by recently. But eventually, they kicked us out just as Artsphere was coming online, and so we've had a really wonderful partnership with Arlington, and really good luck with timing-wise with spaces kind of becoming inviting to us just when we needed them.
And you're a company that has a core company of actors, so tell me a little bit about your idea about that and how that works with your season planning.
The core of actors is kind of the de facto, family that keeps kind of coming back and we keep going out to. And over our 22 years history, we've called it different things: acting company, ensemble. Sometimes we've maintained it better than other times. But right now we have a core acting company of 9, and the base band soon. And we'll be, one looks out for when choosing the season for plays that are a good fit to that company. And it's just a way of saying, of kind of looking at who keeps coming back and working with us, as opposed to the people who kind of come in and then we don't really see them again or whatever.
And also the people who are eager to help out with the other stuff. Since it's a small company with limited resources, that means that there's, having a big open call is a huge undertaking. We don't have a casting director like they do at other places, so Heather Haney is kind of our de facto casting director. She's the one that coordinates all the responses and scheduling, which is a huge deal. And then, the show that we just did was more or less a new play, even though it was, all language has been around for hundreds of years, but put in a brand new order with music. So there was sort of people were getting together to read the drafts of it before it was ever cast. So most of that was company members, and then some people who are just sort of part of the family who might be part of this soon to be expanded configuration of the company. So that there's people who care
teach now, but I haven't taught in under a year there, various reasons. But it's such a privilege being a part of this company and getting to be a part of the family and to work on plays that you love. That in my case, I never thought I would even be able to tackle, and it's been it's to say the very least, I'm fiercely loyal.
And Jay, how did you come?
My first show was Titus Andronicus, which was what, 6 or 7 years ago. I was the first to die. I was in a show with Christopher, and this is before we were dating. The Ivona, Princess of Burgundia at Zenith Theater, and then so I heard that they were holding auditions for Titus, and so I was, it's a play that I really love. It's so bloody and fun. So so I went, auditioned for Joe Bano cast me in that, and then I was, so the first to die there, and then I think that the next show I did was me and Alexander Strain. I think we had about 30 or 40 entrances and exits per act, because we were like these kabuki boys, and the milk train doesn't stop here anymore. So it means like whenever like a phone would appear, we'd like run off and hand it. So sort of, working the way up for a while until, just was one of these several titular entries in our most recent production. So,
We'll talk about that more.
yeah, so that's how, that was my first show there.
The first production I did with WSC was Macbeth, and it was part of the Shakespeare in Washington Festival in 2007. It was such a fun experience. It was like ensemble Shakespeare, which I think a lot of companies don't really bother to do, because Shakespeare is really written as leads everybody else in many ways. So like that piece was so ensemble, it was so collaborative, it was so much fun. And when I got offered another role in like the next show, I was like, yes please, yes please. So yeah, and I've been fortunate enough to play with them several times now, and I'll be back in the spring for Buckeye. Well, I crashed an audition. I had lived here and done some work here for a bit, and then I moved to New York, or first Paris, and
time to play a female role, there you can, I don't know what I just feel like people accept it a lot more readily for a woman, since sometimes women can do things in our, in our society that are maybe more masculine, so it's not as like, I don't know, sometimes you see women playing male roles and it just becomes such a caricature, and I felt like you did a really excellent job in making him just a believable guy, even though you're playing a woman playing a guy, as opposed to sometimes you see these performances and you're just like, well, I'm just going to sit like this the whole time. So I think you're excellent.
Yeah, to me, that was one of the really wonderful things about that production, was that the Lynn crews worked so well, because they weren't just these gross caricatures. It really felt like a lot of the character was coming through, even through the farce.
Yeah, and then also you really have to work well because, as Tom noted, some of the stuff is just a little ridiculous. Like the